Lead with Legacy, the official podcast of IOL Global. Here, we will explore leadership that outlives titles and trends. Through conversations with faith-based and marketplace leaders, we will discuss integrity, conviction, and purpose. To learn more about us, visit us at iolglobal.com. Hello, welcome back to the Lead with Legacy podcast. What an honor it is to be with you guys again. If you're listening in, thank you so much for listening to us. We're so glad to be here today. I am here with my Director of Operations, Sloane Lott, who is phenomenal. And no, you can't have her because I want to keep her forever. And I want to do a shout out. Thank you to Amy Scott, who does all of our video editing. She's incredible. We don't see her on camera, but she does all the work. And I am truly so excited and so blessed to have on here today Maisel Mazier. And Maisel's going to introduce himself to us and who he is and what he does. And we're going to talk about a little bit about how we got connected. And then Sloane's got some questions for us. So Maisel, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Sloan. I'm so excited to be here. Really excited to be on your podcast. Amazing. We finally did it. We're making this happen. So just a little bit about me, guys, for your audience. So yeah, Maisel Mazier here. I'm born and raised in New York City. So as you can imagine, I'm on cloud nine with the Knicks victory.
Right?
First NBA championship in 53 years. Long suffering Knicks fan. So incredibly excited. I'm currently in customer success. I've been doing it now, now approaching a year, but most of my professional career was in nonprofit management, fundraising, development. Sort of did everything, soup to nuts, from events to planned giving to annual fund to major gifts. Kind of did it all. Alumni relations, which is kind of an offshoot as well. But yeah, overall, really excited to be here and talk about leadership and everything else. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you here. So I'm going to give a little backstory where we're not going to stay there, but so we met.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
I should have looked it up. We should have looked it up and said, I think it's been, you said 2 years. I think it's been more than that. I think
could be.
I think it's been, when did you get, okay, so we met because you were going to study for your CAPM.
Yes, that's correct. So one day I just decided, you know what, I want to get a credential in project management. I had been doing project management, like sort of uncredentialed, right? I think all of us are project managers to some extent, but I felt it would be a good professional kind of like notch to have on my resume. So I decided to do it. And I initially went for the CAPM and then I eventually went for the PMP. And when I was looking for best courses, again, this might be more of my imagination. Maybe I'm sticking to this story now. I think I typed in best project management course in Google, something like that. And I came across Joe Phillips's courses on. And so he
is the best.
Yeah, he is the best. He is the best. He is frankly the best. His CAPM courses and then his PMP course it prepared me very well for an incredibly difficult test. And yeah, I passed the first time taking both of them. And so I attribute that to the courses and also to you, Amanda, because you were wonderful. So whenever I had questions and I had challenges, wherever, you were right there to answer them. So I appreciate Joe. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And again, I think Joe's has done and continues to do a great service for those who want to pursue.
Yeah, for over 30 years.
Incredible.
He's done great. I honestly, I talked to him a few weeks ago, but we didn't talk shop. And so I don't know to what extent he's teaching at this point. But for those who don't know, I worked as his assistant for 6 years. And so that is how we got connected, because you were emailing some questions about some stuff. And I was like, hey, let me help. And we kind of went back and forth. So we have emailed literally for years back and forth.
For years at this point, yeah.
Now we have this amazing opportunity to meet. And God is so good. He opens doors like that. Yeah. And I have watched you grow and develop and gain your certifications and change into this new role. I've seen pictures and videos of you up on stage doing all kinds of amazing nonprofit stuff. And this company was a nonprofit when my parents had it for the 30 years that they had it. And when I reopened, I did not want to go through what my mother had to go through to have a nonprofit. And so I watched that for years, and it was very difficult, and that was very scary. So I did not do that. But I could have called you and relied on you for that. You would have had a lot of information about that, I believe.
You got it.
But I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you
Thank you for having me.
for you had to kind of plan this out pretty far in the future, and so we've anxiously awaited.
Thank
I
you for
think
having me.
Sloan has some questions for us, and she's gonna kind of ask back and forth, and then we'll talk about a few things. So we'll just get going.
Let's rock and roll. Let's do
Absolutely.
it.
I'm ready. Here we go. Okay, Maisel, what first drew you to relationship-centered work?
Goodness, I think I was drawn to it at a very early age. When I was one of my very first memories is when I was in high school. I started volunteering for an organization out of the South Bronx, and it was just working. So I was a teenager, and I was working with like my peers, but also a lot of them were, kids, who several few years younger. When you're 15 and a kid is 10 or 9, there's like a huge gulf. It feels like there's a huge gulf. But dealing with the little ones, and I loved kind of teaching, adding value, being a mentor, as much as you can provide wisdom at 15 or 16 years old. But I think I was always sort of drawn to that type of work. The people who I admired were often the folks that managed the program. And a lot of them were social workers. A lot of them were folks who had really developed a career, had invested time and money and resources to working with you know, kids in the South Bronx. I mean, I just found them to be incredibly noble, decent people. So those were like my idols in many respects. And so they were selfless. They really cared. I gravitated towards one in particular. We were very close friends. I'm an older brother, so I didn't have an older brother of my own, but this gentleman was
Um,
sort of an older brother to me. And I think he had his license. He was yeah, he was a licensed social worker. So, and he was into music. I was into, so we just really, and again, that type of work, service work really was kind of, it just seemed incredibly attractive to me. So when it was time to eventually, as I got older and decided on a career, I felt like I definitely wanted to do something that was service oriented, and that's why I started my career in nonprofit.
yeah, and you've done it for a long time now. I mean, in different ways and in different positions, and so
Yep.
tell us a secret about that. How do you gain client trust? What's the best way that you do that?
Well, I think you gain client trust. I think it was Stephen Covey said you acquire trust by being trustworthy, or
Uh,
something like that. I'm a big fan of Stephen Covey. I've read his Seven
yeah,
Habits
he's
numerous times,
fantastic.
and but I believe I believe that you have to. It's not about faking it. It's about you're trying your hardest. And we're all imperfect, right? We're all sinners, but trying to have virtue, to lead a life of virtue, to lead a life of service, because that is what we're called to
We were
do.
talking a little bit about that off camera before we
Yeah.
came on. That it's really just so much more about who you are as a person. And that's going to come out.
Hmm.
There's people who can maybe fake it for a little
Yeah.
while and get by a little while, but that only lasts so
It
long.
only
It's
lasts
really
so
with
long.
you.
People have a real, a strong BS radar. They could tell when someone is lying. And I think, yeah, there are some people who are incredibly deceptively, very good at that, which is sort of scary. But I think most people, I think, just have good common sense, and they can feel whether or not someone has their genuine, has their self-interest. Like they say, I want you to succeed. I want to add value to your life. This is incredibly important for me because I feel that that is my vocation. My vocation is to add value, and it gives me happiness to know that. And so, yeah, so I think people can tell whether you mean it or not. And
I do too. I
yeah,
think I know that I can tell when people are very sincere or they're more off on their own agenda. And it's and I'm okay with that too. Just be transparent about it. Tell me on the front
yeah,
end, that really it's just about more about what you want, and that's at
yeah.
least we're being honest about
I
it on the
think
front end.
another what is like another I think it was Covey's peer, maybe he was a little older than Covey was. My God, Zig Ziglar. He
Yeah,
said that
I love
if you
Zig
help
Ziglar.
people, if you help people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. And I think
Yeah, it's
it's a
so
mutually
true.
beneficial. Like, look, we all have, we all have needs. We all have, we have to pay mortgages. We have to put our
Right.
kids through. Everybody gets that, but the way you do it is by adding value. And I think I
Yeah.
heard that money really at the end of the day are just certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on. That's all money is. It's just a certificate of appreciation with presidents' faces on. If you,
Yeah, so we were
yeah,
having some conversations about this the other
yeah,
day, just in general, and because of some other situations and just people that, we've been praying for and
hmm
situations. And I think like what I keep coming back to and in a Bible study that I'm in too is what I keep like God just keeps putting this on my heart is like, this is not my home. My
hmm
home is in eternity. God is my
amen.
provider.
Hmm.
It doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter because what I do does matter, right?
Of
It
course,
matters. My
your
attitude, my
talents,
behavior, the way that I do
God
things,
gave
it
you talents
matters.
to use. Yep.
Yeah, but ultimately, God is the provider, right? He's the one who
Amen.
is going to provide the things that we need, resources, money, people, all of the functions that we need. We have to rely on that. And when the world seems like it's crumbling down around us, which often it will,
Hmm.
that's the key is you have to stand in that hope and that peace. And it has taken a long time to really, really embrace that. It's a hard and you waver on it sometimes, right? Like, ugh, I want to fix it. I want to, like I want to make it right. And sometimes it's just not within our control to do that. And unfortunately I keep having to learn that lesson over and over again because
Don't we all?
I'm done with it.
Don't we all?
All
Yeah.
right, what do you got for us next?
Yeah, how did these earlier experiences, especially you were talking about you were doing your volunteer work in, was it the South
Yeah,
Bronx?
the
Is
South
that
Bronx in New
yeah,
York City. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Love
How
it.
did some of those early experiences prepare you for customer service?
Oh my goodness. I think foundationally people want to be heard. People want to be respected. Everyone, you know, is made in the image of God. And because of that, they deserve respect. They respect honor. And so, and I learned that, again, from my experiences growing up, in my family and my grandmother doing such a great job, I think, inculcating us with those values. And then, applying those values to just the kids that I worked with. And that, I think those values, those lessons really, I try to apply to my personal life and to my professional life when it comes to colleagues, when it comes to clients, and, recognizing that they have inherent worth. They have worth just whether or not they're rich, whether they're poor, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where they come from. Doesn't matter how they worship. At the end of the day, it's that they're made in the Imago Dei. They have the Imago Dei. They have the image of God.
Yeah, you did come
Yeah,
on. You were Dr. Leander. Shout out.
yeah,
Yes.
Imago Dei. You throw some Latin out, and so
Yeah. You guys need to get together. You
yeah, I
guys
would
had a
love
great
to.
time.
Yeah, and
We have shirts for that and everything.
Imago Dei. All right, Imago Dei. And I mean,
We'll send you the link. Yeah, you
yeah,
Yeah.
need that.
it's great. Please do. And I don't know. I think that that's really. I think that's sort of it. I think it's pretty simple, but I think it's the truth. Those principles are true, whether or not we agree with it, whether or not someone agrees with them or not. At the end of the day, they have inherent worth, and because of that, they and us, we all deserve respect, and we all deserve to be treated with integrity, and we have to add value, and hopefully people add value to our lives as well. And so, yeah, it's like a virtuous circle, and I really believe that's the way that God created the universe. Create that. Those are just laws that are baked into reality, and so
Amen.
that's how
I
I.
agree with that. You
Yeah.
didn't know you were going to come on here and preach to us today,
Oh
though.
no, no.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding with you.
Again, you never know, but no, but
You know
thank you.
what? The Holy Spirit has a really amazing way of just putting the right things in the
Amen.
right people in the
Amen.
right places at the right time. And so, no, what a blessing. We were talking a little bit off screen about that too. We won't go on a whole theology thing, but we were
Yeah.
talking about how it's not you and I and the basics are there, right? We serve God. And
Hmm.
so if that's there, we have a great foundation. And even if it's not there, we have a great foundation to pour into other people and to love other people as Christ would do so, regardless of what their current belief is, right? And it's not so much our job to try to change a person. That's not our job, right? That's God's job. We can't change a person, but we can show them the love of God and that we're all, here for a purpose and that each individual person has a purpose. And so what a beautiful umbrella to sit under for all of us as well. And for those who don't agree with that, that's okay too.
Of course.
We just want to love you. We want to surround you with, kindness and goodness, because that's really what we're here for. And anyways, that was like, we kind of got off on a tangent.
Nah, no,
On a
it's fine. No, that's great.
No, I
But
think it's really important. And what I am drawn to in other people, what I noticed quickly is if someone is a respecter of persons or if they just respect people, right? Like, I give you the utmost respect because you're successful, you're wealthy. That's not what Jesus loves about you. And so we're called to respect people as who they are right there in the moment,
hmm
Yeah.
and hopefully show them the love of Jesus if they don't know it,
hmm
and affirm the love of Jesus if they do know it. And
hmm
so that basic respect and dignity, you said the word respect, and it reminded me of that are we respecting people for who they were created to be by God?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and their value, a person's value, comes from the fact that God willed them into existence. That
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it
yep.
kind of goes against like our human nature because of sin, right? It's
hmm
not it's kind of more, I would say, in all transparency, it's more sometimes innate to go, well, they don't believe the way that I do, or they don't do the way that I do, or they're not doing right and they're not living their lives right, whatever that means,
hmm
right? Whatever the definition of right is, which of course we go to the Bible for that, and God's command. However, it is kind of like this sinful human nature to just kind of look at people and not automatically see and behave the way that you're saying. And so we kind of have to retrain ourselves, and I think that's part of just the process of
hmm
sanctification through it,
Yep.
is like becoming who Christ wants you to be, so that you can treat other people the way that they should be treated as well.
hmm
And the further along we get in that, the better we are as people, as humans, as family members, as coworkers, as all of that, is because we're actively seeking the process of not just like being a good person, but
hmm
being a Christ follower and
Yeah.
doing what he
Yeah.
asks
Being
us to
holy,
do.
become holy, be
Yeah,
holy because I'm holy. Yeah.
that's
That's
right.
right.
Yep.
Okay. We have other questions?
We do, but I'm enjoying this. I'm like, I don't even want to ask my
No,
questions.
go for it. Let's do it. What we
I
could,
just want to, yeah.
we could mix it all
Let
together.
Yeah, let me ask another question and we'll
Yeah.
just come back to this point. I think is the point of this conversation, right? How would you explain customer success to someone who's new in the field? That phrase is new to me.
It,
I hadn't heard that.
yeah, it's pretty new. So there's a whole industry called software as a service, SaaS for sure. So, it's like, for instance, like Netflix is a service, software as a service, right? Or now Microsoft, right? I'm old enough to remember that when you used when you had the operating system or you had like Word or Excel, you actually had to buy it. But nowadays you can actually kind of rent it. And then if you,
Don't we know it?
right, so you rent it and
We've been
then you rent
fighting
it
with
as a,
Microsoft for
right.
weeks.
And then so there is an incentive. Previously, there wasn't an incentive for a company to ensure that you derive value from their product in a way. In a way, yes, they wanted you to kind of be a repeat customer, but once you bought a software and you applied it to your computer, that was it. It was like one and done. Now, because it's rented, uh, and there are kind of timelines, right? Okay, we signed a contract for, let's say, a renewal or whatever, and it comes up to like a specific date into the future. The onus is on the provider to ensure that you get value from that particular product or that service. So customer success was born out of that. I believe it was actually Salesforce that actually was the very first developer of the idea, because they started to identify that they were experiencing quote unquote churn. A lot of the people who were buying Salesforce, their software, their CRM, a lot of them were leaving within a year's time. So yes, there was a lot of clients coming in the front door, but a lot of
But
clients were
yeah.
leaving from the back door. And there was a
hmm
gentleman, I forget his actual name, but they called him Dr. Doom or something there, because he actually one day at a very large Salesforce conference, identified, hey, this is stuff, we're churning a lot of clients and we need to
Right.
address this. And so I think that a lot of people, it might be more apocrypha than anything, but they attribute that time, that day, that gentleman, Dr. Doom spoke, to the beginning of customer success. So customer success, yeah,
I'm not going to disagree with it, but I'm going to say that my dad probably, actually, I was going to say probably Jesus was probably the first one, and then my dad, because my dad teaches a lot on customer service,
yeah,
and he does a incredible a job with that, and it's amazing, and he kind of picks your brain and makes you like, oh, I didn't think about that
yeah,
way.
exactly. And so really my job, guys, is to ensure that the folks who use in the company, that people who buy our software, that use our product, get the value that they hope to
Right.
acquire. At the end of the day, it's that simple. So
And
and
let
then
me give a
you
shout
ask,
out. We've been fighting with Microsoft over a couple different things. Like we came in one day and like our bookings pages were gone. They don't work anymore, which is very difficult to book people when your bookings pages won't work. However, we finally got a really great customer service representative who is trying very hard to help me through it. We got one page back. We're working on the
that's
other one.
great.
But so I understand the concept of it. And I also understand funny enough, I follow a lady on Instagram who works in customer service, like kind of through that
Hmm.
same general idea.
Yep.
And I also understand that it's very difficult, right? Because you have people that have like high emotions
Yeah.
and
Yep.
they're frustrated because the product's not working
Hmm.
and you need it to work and I can't do what I'm supposed to do if it doesn't work. And so there's a lot of emotions to it because we're an emotional being.
Yeah, we're emotional. Yeah, we're emotional creatures. Yeah, I think that's where you have to, that's where I think a lot of emotional intelligence, the EQ comes in, like being able to breathe. I don't think any of us like to be on the receiving end of a angry or an upset client phone call or email. It's never, it's not something that we look forward to in the morning, but it happens. And I think it's your approach. It's one understanding that, okay, again, going back to the whole value question, someone, this is important for them because they invested time and money with the hope that your product or your service can address a problem that they are currently facing. And
Mhm.
so, understandably, there's an emotional investment for this to work, a financial investment for this to work.
Right.
And so, putting yourself in their shoes, although it might be difficult at times, is incredibly crucial. And I think that's also where kind of maturity and emotional regulation comes in. Like, obviously, like breathing, like, okay, and then not getting overwhelmed by their initial response, and then bringing down the temperature by offering a solution. Or sometimes people just want to vent; they just want to be heard. And once you hear them out, then you realize, and then you realize, okay, perhaps this is
Right.
not as big of a deal as you think. There is a solution to this. This is not the first time this particular issue or hurdle has been identified, and we have a solution. So yeah, so customer success is really cool. So it's sort of like the mix of both customer service, but also you're
Mhm.
kind of like also consulting because
You're a counselor.
you're a counselor. So there's a lot of questions that come involved that are involved. So like success, Sloan, Amanda, you guys maybe have different definitions of success. Perhaps so
Mhm.
it's my job to understand what your definition of success is. At the end of the day, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, what do you hope is what has changed? I think Joe used to say the desired. There was a term he used to use all the time in his courses about the desired future state or something like that. There's a desire.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so there's a desired future state. It's you're here
you gotta put
today,
this thing down.
but here's your
That's
desired
right.
future state, and there's a
Yep.
gulf between the two. So
That's
so what does this look like? And then how do we bridge the gap? And then that's
correct.
where I think customer success comes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that it's in so many different realms. And my background, the people that I'm working with now, my background is very different. I came from public library world. I was like a librarian and I
Love
got
it.
my master's of library science from Louisiana State University. And really what those 18
LSU.
months taught, yeah, yes, LSU, what those 18 months taught me, other than I can do just about anything with a cup of coffee and 2 hours of sleep, because I was getting that master's and working full time, was it's not enough to have something. Like the library has a lot of things, but if the people coming in don't know, can't find it themselves, that it's not enough. And how are you going to help these people, like you said, cross that gulf between you've got it and I need it?
Mhm.
Exactly
And
right.
so you have to
Exactly
teach
right.
that, and they need to be able to do it independently
Exactly right.
of you.
Exactly right.
And
And
so
so applicable across every single
Yes.
industry, right? Because it may
Of
not
course.
be a tangible thing, right? It might be a knowledge that we need
Mhm.
that to get us from point A to point B. We might need to have these good conversations, or you might just need to get on the call and like, hey, walk me
Mm-hmm.
through this.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yes.
show me where it is, or like, for like you said, Sloan, where like I want this book. Where is it? I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever that, it's so industry wide. And I think that the customer success is exactly what it says, is we're making the customer successful, whatever that takes from point A to point B. If it's in a hotel room and we're getting you to your, where you are and happy and comfortable and all of that. If it's in a library, if it's, on a software program that we're working through. I know like we
Mm-hmm.
have learning platforms, which is also, in the same kind of industry that you're in. We have to be able to use it, right? It has to
Mm-hmm.
be workable and usable and user friendly. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to have a team of people behind that we can rely on, like, hey, show us what to do, or we're stuck, or this is broke.
Yep.
And so how do those people behind that, behind those initiatives of customer success, how do they best bring that to the forefront?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you can attest more to that, but I
Yes.
think at the end of the day, it's kindness, right? It's really,
At the end of the day, it's about adding value to a human person's life,
mm,
and kindness, and all that kindness, respect, empathy, humility, listening, trying to really understand what the kind of like what the challenge is in that particular moment, and then because by understanding what the challenge is, you could offer a better solution to it.
absolutely.
And yeah, I agree with you, Amanda. It's all about adding value, and then and as a consequence, you get, as a business or as whatever, as a professional, you get value as well, right? So like whether it's you get more customers, or that's sort of a consequence of it, which is obviously good because we know, especially if you're in a for-profit endeavor, that you definitely need customers, you need profit. But the question is, okay, how do you get that, right? How profit, and then if you start kind of peeling the onion, the answer is you get profit, those certificates of appreciation with president's faces on them, by adding value and caring about your customers.
Yeah,
If you do that, the other stuff will take care of itself. And so I think sometimes,
absolutely.
unfortunately, the discussion sometimes, out there with, whomever, gurus or business gurus, they often focus on the outcome. Like, no, in a way, forget the outcome. Maybe I'm being naive, guys. I don't know. But I
No,
really
I don't
believe
think so.
that focus on adding value. And if you add value, then the outcome takes care of itself.
Yeah, I had a similar conversation yesterday with some brilliant individuals, and we were talking similarly to this, but more in the PMO and EPMO space,
Hmm.
talking about how it's so important in those spaces that we add value and we find the value, and that we, help others draw that out to see the value, in that's kind of been lost in that space. And there's a wonderful group of people that are trying to bring that back.
That's great.
Yeah, and I look, I'm so blessed. Like I'm just like sitting at the heels of the giants of all these things, all these amazing people, and just like, all starstruck. But and same with you. Like I know that this is such a passion of yours, and you've worked a really, really long time to hone in on what
Hmm.
does customer service mean? What does it really look like in
Hmm.
the field, in multiple fields, in nonprofit and profit, in all these areas. It shines through the work that you do, and I'm not sure that you know that or
Thank you.
not, but it really, really does. And we're in a world of social media, LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, whatever, and so we can say whatever we want. But I know I have. We'll attribute it to the Holy Spirit for sure, but I have an uncanny way of kind of just being able to like see through and just know like this person is really genuine, and I've known for a long time that you are, and it's an
Thank you.
honor
Thank you.
to kind of watched what how you've grown,
That
and
means a
and
lot
and
to me.
just the interactions, and just you're very, very encouraging, and it's sincere, and I think that makes all the difference in the world. I think when our hearts are in the right place, we are so much more. I mean, we might get frustrated, right? There's days that we get
We're
frustrated.
all human.
We're doing
We're flesh and blood. We're like,
yeah,
yeah, we get
but
tired, we
I
get
do.
cranky. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's days when Phone and I were like, we just have to stop. We have to
Yeah.
pray. We're like, okay, like it's
Pray,
me.
step
It's
away.
not
I need to
y'all.
walk. I need to get away from, this. like we again, we're
So
all
let's
I
go
there.
for a
normally get
walkabout.
I get normally 3 puffs, like,
Yeah.
and she'll go,
Okay.
"Why don't you go on a
Go on a
walkabout?" And I'm
walk.
like, "Yeah, I think I will. I
Everything
think I
feels
just
better
need some
after a
fresh
walk.
air."
After a walk, everything, and it's funny because growing up in New York, one thing you do in New York a lot is walk.
This is
And
true.
I love walking. I'm not a jogger. I don't like to. I'm not a marathon, but I do
You're
love
not a
to.
marathon runner.
No, I'm not. I'm into fitness. I do like fitness.
I am also not a runner, so don't feel
Yeah, I'm
bad.
not a, but every time I run, I just feel very like, oh, like my shins hurt. But walking, and it's incredible what it does, obviously, for your physical health, but also for your mental health, your spiritual health. You know, our bodies were designed for movement. Sitting in front of a computer for
They were.
hours is not, it's not natural.
I didn't know you were going to have him come on here and preach to us, Sloan.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this recording. Thanks everybody for no,
Thanks for
I'm
coming.
kidding.
Thanks for coming,
Yeah, yeah.
folks.
Thanks for
Thanks for coming
pulling
to
us on. We
Maisel's
got to
TED
get away
Talk.
from.
We're done. No, I do want to, Maisel, I do want to touch on, you're talking about adding value, but
Mm-hmm.
to add value, we have to listen for that value.
Mm-hmm.
That is a phrase that we use all the time now. Our great friend, Dr. LaFrance, wrote a book on listening for value. I thought I was a good listener. I read his book. I'm mediocre at best. Once a week, maybe a mediocre listener.
Yeah.
But, that's something we have to actively be doing. But how does data help you guide conversation?
Yes, data is
Good question.
evidence. Data is evidence, and data is it's crucial. I'm not the most quantitative guy. Math was never my strong suit in school.
Yeah.
I always lean more towards the, I guess, the humanities, English, religion, philosophy, things of that nature. But as I've grown older, and in my career, I see the great value of just data, and in a way, numbers. There's a beauty to numbers. Like it throughout our lives. I'm sure we've encountered people who just love math, and you ask, why do you love math so much? And they are often like a refrain I often hear, guys, that I've heard throughout the years, is that math is it's clear. Like
Definite.
there's a lot
Right.
of hyperbole, there's a lot of smoky mirrors, in rhetoric and all that. Politicians can say X, but that's like, okay, let's look at the numbers. Like, what does
Right.
you know, and I think there is a certain truth to data. And I think data, I use data quite often in my job. And so data, I have learned throughout the years to really kind of embrace data. I likely will never be a mathematician in my life, but
I don't
I
know.
don't,
With AI, now
but I
you
don't
can
need
do
to be.
anything.
I need to be, I know percentages, I know decimals, I know that, and I can see when there's a certain discrepancy. And
Sure.
you know, something that we at our job, what we try to do is, okay, so we kind of step back. Okay, if the goal is revenue, right? And for most of our organizations, revenue is a big goal, right? They got this tool because they want to add more revenue to their books. That's okay. Like, how do you do that? And then you start looking at data and say, okay, well, in order to get this outcome, this is the sort of data that should be reflected in what you're given. It's like you need to kind of construct a portfolio that is conducive to that outcome. And we rely entirely on data to do that. And it's not guessing. It's not like, well, I have a hunch, or my spidey sense tells me this. It's not tingling. There is, and that's where data comes in. And then I think my experience, guys, has been, and this is probably your experience too, that when you offer data, it's clients usually nod, but like, okay, I see it now. Like I see what you're
Right.
trying
I
to
could.
tell
Yeah.
me. I
It's
get it.
tangible.
It's tangible. It's tactile. I could touch it. And and then it's like, hey, and then it's also very empowering because it's like, look, if we can change this feature here that is weak, and we could tell you how to do that, then there's no guarantees in life besides death and taxes. Like
Don't
like
I know it?
you likely are going to see greater success.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your health, right? Like your doctor can say, okay, this is your cholesterol, this is your blood pressure, and if we make these tweaks, we're likely going to increase the value, the extend your life and the quality of life. So,
Yeah. I love to.
yeah.
We're on a collective keto whole thing right now,
Are
and
you
I love to.
awesome?
Yeah. Well, I did it before, a
Okay.
long time ago,
Uh,
and I lost like 120 pounds.
Wow.
and, in life, just, this, that, and the other, and opening the business and everything. And so we've decided we're doing this thing, we're doing it again because I know it works. And to be honest, when I did it before, I did it. My mother had cancer and I was taking care of her. And this was
Sorry.
before keto was cool. And so I was doing all this research, like, how can I help my mom? What can we do? And I found this fantastic group of research from multiple different entities
Mm-hmm.
talking about how it's so helpful to cancer patients because sugar feeds cancer.
Hmm.
And so we started kind of not all at once, but we started kind of incrementally taking away things like that,
Mm-hmm.
in trying to better her health. And because I was staying with her and taking care of her, it was logical. We were cooking certain
Yeah.
things and things like that. And it worked phenomenally. And so, like, also we could talk about that too, but how, like, something works and then you're like, what's wrong with us that we just don't do it? I know it works, but I strayed away from it. That's a whole
It's
philosophical debate
it's
in another.
philosophical. We could talk about human nature. It's like I don't like it's funny. Like, why do doctors? Sometimes I pass by a doctor's office or a hospital, and I see nurses and doctors smoking. Like, what? What are you
I
doing? What
know.
are you
What's
doing?
wrong with
Of all
you?
people, you guys should know this is like. But yeah. So
I
the
But
human
back
psyche.
back to the data on it. What I love about it is
Yeah.
is I do very much, and I'm not a math person either, just so you
Hmm.
know. But I love that we have these technology and these tools now. Like, I can put in there, like, here's my weight now. And what's funny is I still have it in there from, like, years past, and it's kept the data that whole time. So I know where I was, and then I went way up, right?
I
And now I'm
see.
coming back down. And I love watching that because it's a motivator to me. It
Yep.
motivates me, like, hey, I did this before. I can do it again. It's a long tail and it takes a while, but we'll get
You'll
there.
get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I'm not a math person, in fact, I
Yeah.
try to stay as far away from it as I can. I very much like to. I'm very visual, and I like to see that. I like to see that there's a result in this. I can see, and when we do our metrics, when we're doing marketing efforts and things like that,
Hmm.
even like with this. With this podcast, when you're logging into YouTube and you're seeing, like, okay, well, this worked, this didn't, this went better than this, or things like that. It's important that we not stake everything on the data or the metrics, but it's important that we watch it, that we look at it, we learn from it, like you said,
Yeah.
because we can grow from it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like an arrow in one's quiver. I think like in baseball, you hear
yeah,
this argument often. Like, are we going to be strictly focused on the stats, like quantitative, or are we going to also rely on kind of like that gut feel, like, okay.
right.
And I think often my experience has been, I'm not the biggest. I'm a fan of baseball. I'm not the biggest fan. I have friends who are deeply involved with baseball, but I think just talking to them, I kind of get the sense that a healthy mix of the two, that data along with the wisdom and the insights you have gleaned from a career in baseball, or you name it, in anything, any in human
Any
endeavor,
industry. Yeah,
is probably maybe the best. That's like the secret. That's the secret sauce right there. It's like kind of
there it
the
is.
mix of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Sloan, did you have anything? So we always ask every guest the same two questions. I don't know if you've listened before this, but we always ask the same two questions. I don't know if we're there yet. Are we there yet? Or
We are there.
this is my
Incredible.
favorite.
This has been fun.
We have arrived. Okay. Maisel, name a leader you admire and share briefly how they've influenced you, why they've influenced you.
It's funny. You know who's been on my mind recently within the last few days? It's very timely. Is Jalen Brunson from although, and the reason I bring him up is, yeah, he won the championship, or his team won the championship, but he sacrificed. I don't know if you guys know this, but he sacrificed like $100 million from his own salary to allow the organization flexibility
Mm,
to acquire other players to assist in the possibility of making it happen for the team to win a championship.
that's
He
beautiful.
went out of his, like, again, he'll be fine. He got he got millions of dollars still, but he left, I think it was like 113, $115 million that he could have received in the
I know.
negotiations. And he said, no, like, I'll sacrifice that because I want the Knicks, I want my team to
Right.
have the financial wherewithal to get the players that are going to help us become successful. And so that I think, so that willingness to sacrifice, to put your money where your mouth is, to for the greater good, I think is incredible. And I saw, this is before the championship. He was doing a press conference as they often do, right? Reporters are asking all sort of like the same 10 questions. And one of the reporters asked him, sort of, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but like, since you are the star of the team, and then the question was whatever it was. And Jalen Brunson said, I'm not a star. I'm just a, I'm just a member of the team. Like,
Right.
and he is the star. I mean, he's the best player. He's one of the best players in the league. Some people are saying he's like the best player in that NBA right now. And he's only 6'1", which is short in the NBA.
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
And so I love that attitude that he's always
Yeah.
deflecting praise from himself, and he's always laying it back, giving it back to his teammates, to his coaches, to his parents. He in the whole city loves him because of this. It's like how could you not like respect somebody like that? And so when I think of leadership, when I was thinking about this question, I have many others I could probably rattle off, but I
Sure.
think for me is Jalen Brunson has really displayed sort of like just a willingness to, you know, yeah, like lay down if it- his life might be too dramatic, but really lay down a lot for his
Yeah.
for his team, for his teammates, for the city of New York that had been starred for a
I mean, it
championship.
makes me admittedly, I'm not big into sports. When I was younger and
Yeah,
we lived close to Atlanta, we actually got to go like up under the stadium and stuff and
yeah,
like meet the Braves and all of that, and it was very
nice.
cool.
So like
We got to go to the Braves games
Chipper
all the time.
Jones and Chipper,
Yes,
yep, yep,
yes. It
Smokes.
was great. It
Mhm.
was I have pictures with them and stuff, and it was really I'm sure they do not remember me, but that's okay. But I was like 12. But no, I mean, it was really great because there were some of them that were a large portion of that team, if not all of them, were just so gracious and kind and humble and so willing to just let people come in and
Yep.
talk to them. And that's when back when I might get this might be unpopular, but when baseball was affordable and we could actually go watch a game.
Uh, Sports is so
But and
expensive.
then we also went to a lot of hockey because we had hockey team there for a long time, and it was I honestly I'm not in the loop, but
Yeah,
I love watching hockey.
yeah.
Super big fan. If I had to pick one sport, that would probably
It's
be it.
hockey.
But
Yeah, it's hockey. Yeah.
I just love it. It's so fun. It's like so full
It's
of
hard to be a hockey fan in Arkansas. We
yeah.
struggle quite a
We have
bit,
no
but
hockey.
It
but
We don't have it.
it is
We
so
this
fast paced. I went to was it a Ranger? No, it was a Devils game, New Jersey Devil, a couple of years ago. It was my very first hockey game. And I was amazed at the pace. How you see it on the TV, you see them going back and
yeah,
forth, but seeing it live is just
totally different in person.
incredibly different. I think more so
Yeah,
than any other sport that as like, you see basketball on the screen, that's likely what you're going to sort of experience, with obviously some,
right.
but
Yeah.
hockey is very distinctive when you see it in person. It's very different.
Yeah,
At least my
Sloan's right. We don't have as much opportunity here for like sports teams and go see sports because again when I lived in Georgia we went to a lot of events like
yeah, in
that.
Atlanta, yeah.
We just
Hmm.
we don't have a lot of that now, but it makes me want to go look him up because I love that humbleness and I love that
It's great.
giving spirit.
It's great.
And I also love the concept of, and I try very hard. I don't think any of us meet the mark at any given time, but or all the time, but I try very hard for the same mentality no matter what team I'm working with, is
Yeah,
that we are a team,
yeah.
right? It's not that, I mean, even this is not the Amanda show. I do not want it to be the Amanda show. I want to be a team. That's why I make Sloan come on here. I'm like, you have to do it
That's great.
because, well,
And Sloan
I
is
see the
also, she did
value
an
in her
amazing
too.
job. Goodness
I
gracious.
know.
I'm doing my best.
You're
And
doing great.
what I love about that story is he sacrificed for an opportunity. There
Right.
was no return on investment, right? How
Right.
many people looking at the statistics for a high ROI would be like, "Oh, that's not in my best interest."
And
And it wasn't enough that he sacrificed. He continued to have to work.
yeah, he
He had to
continued to
show
have
up
to
to
work.
practice.
Oh, and that's one
Yeah.
other thing, guys. So I going back to what I shared earlier, he's only 6'1", right? So in basketball, that's considered short. He has often been underestimated by a lot of like scouts, pundits. There was a pundit, I forgot her name. She said that because of his height, he'll never be able to lead his team to the, and he proved everybody wrong. How did he do it? By working his butt off, by
Yeah.
dedicating hours and hours and hours in the gym. His father was is a former NBA player. His father was never, he was like a bench player.
Okay.
His father never had the success that Jalen Brunson has, but he instilled in his son the importance of hard work, dedication, consistency. That kind of success is often,
It's my
it's an
favorite
iceberg,
guy.
right? You see the very
Yeah.
top, but no one
Yeah.
sees the vast amount of
Yeah.
time and sacrifice that you spent in the gym or the library or
Right.
um, but yeah, so yeah, he's a really wonderful, I think.
Fantastic answer. Now I want to like go learn so
Yeah,
much more
check him
about
out. Yeah,
him
he's
because
great. Yeah, he's really
yeah.
and he's also kind of self-deprecating too. Like so again, it's just like he's
Wow.
just like a likable guy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Very nice. I like that answer.
yeah,
All right. I will follow you up with the next one. When you think about your legacy, what lasting impact do you hope to have?
goodness, when in my eulogy, which I hope is like hundreds of years from now, but like the day that the good Lord calls me home and people are talking about me, that Maisel was a guy that really cared, that really tried his best to radiate the love of God, and through what I did, through what I said, through times when I showed restraint, and
Yeah.
that I lifted people up, and that I wanted, and that they know without a shadow of a doubt that I wanted them to succeed, and that and succeed in all that, not just materially. I mean, that is, I think sometimes
Yeah.
in these conversations, not in these conversations, but when we talk about success, it's often
Mm,
really focused primarily on material success, and that's just
right.
part of it. I think the most, and again, Covey, you know, and again, Covey got it from the Lord, like focus first on the kingdom, and I think that spiritually, it's the most, like, spiritual success, financial success, physical success, social success, mental
Mhm.
success, all that there's like an ecology. It's all
Yes.
interconnected. If any of those are off, if any of those are not calibrated correctly, you're not going to be incredibly happy. So my goal, I hope, is that when people look back on me, my life, how I try to live it imperfectly, as obviously, as
Right.
but that I wanted that for them, that I wanted them to have spiritual success, material success, psychological success, social success, and physical
That's
success.
beautiful. And
So,
if anyone ever embodied that
mhm,
through email, it is you.
thank you.
I, in all honesty, I don't know that I can name another person because through my time in that position, a lot of my interaction was through email because we
Hmm.
really didn't do a lot of phone calls or
Yeah,
meetings and things like
yeah,
that. And I don't know that there was another person that I would be so truly like honored to meet and to talk to in person because just
that's very
every
kind of you.
interaction, we had a lot of interaction over the
Yeah, we
years,
did.
and every interaction was just like so kind and so like I think one time like I totally destroyed your name in an email and it was so unintentional.
It's not the first
It was
time. You know, it's funny. It's funny
I was
because
like and I caught it,
I have heard it
you know when
all.
you like
I have heard it all,
you
Amanda.
press send and then you're like, "Oh,
It's
I can't
okay.
believe I
It's
just," and I was
okay.
like, "Oh my
Yeah,
gosh." But you were so gracious and so kind, and we were just able to just learn from each other even through email.
yeah. No,
And
no
so I
worries.
think that that shines throughout, like, all that you're doing, and what an honor to meet you
The
finally.
same here. Same here,
And
guys.
just to I mean, just you're just an incredible human being,
Thank
and
you.
it's just absolutely an honor to know you, and to have had the interactions back and forth. It just really, really incredible.
Thank you, Amanda. I feel the same way. Thank you, and I feel
I I'm
thank you,
and I'm
Sloan.
so like, I'm so proud of you. You have worked so hard and done so many things in the last few years that have just been absolutely incredible. And so I'm really honored to have had you on here. And I hope that maybe I can have you on
Oh,
again in the future. We can
anytime,
talk some.
anytime, anywhere I can be of help, you let me know. I would love to
Yeah.
do it.
And shameless plug if you're listening in, go and like and subscribe and do all those things because it does help. We're not doing this podcast to make money at all. In fact, we make zero money, but we would everybody listening in, the point is that we want to hear your story. And if you know, or anybody listening knows of people that need to come on and tell their story and talk about, different things in business, not business, whatever, we welcome that. Contact us and let us know. So honored to have you on. I could literally talk to you for
Thank you,
hours, but I can't.
Amanda. No worries. I could do the same.
Because
You
you
guys
have
have
work
been
to do, and so do
so
we.
charitable, so kind, and so I really appreciate the hospitality, and I look forward to
Thank you.
continuing the conversation. So thank you again for having me.
Well, and if there's ever anything that, you need from us or we can do or help out, just knowledge work or whatever we need to, any of that, the honor is mine, and I extend that to you
Thank you.
wholeheartedly. So, and Sloane, thank you. Thank you for being a part of
Sloan,
this with
you
me.
rocked. You were great.
Thank you.
She
Thank you.
is.
Big compliment coming from you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much.